Hey, hi, hello, friends. How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining me here. I was talking for like a full 7 minutes, and then I realized that I hadn't clicked the go live button, so like no one could hear me. It was just like me talking to myself, which is always the best way to start a stream. It's when you're just sitting there talking to yourself. Thank you guys for being here. Nicola, Anna, Nicola, I can't pronounce things. Anna, Dawn on me now, and to all of the other people who are watching, anyone who's catching me on the replay, everyone, you know, hi, hello, thank you for being here. My eyeliner is hella wonky, my eyebrows are not done correctly, and my hair is gross right now. I have been very sick for the past few days. Hi, Misty. This was not the beer virus, did not have COVID. I got checked out. Hey, Bailey. I just have a garden variety cold, but after not being sick for like an entire year, my body's just like, what is this nonsense? We get sick now? Like, I don't think so. So I hung out with like 4 people and, well, like 6 people. And one of them had a slight cold, and lo and behold, I caught it. So yes, please. Thank you. Hit the like button if you like this, you know, tell other people. I know this is kind of at a weird time, but I have the day off. I figured I would take a day. I didn't basically take any time last week, even though I wasn't feeling well. I just figured I would power on through. But then I just couldn't. Like my house looks absolutely awful. And then I tried like making myself soup yesterday and I burned myself. I don't know if you can tell. That's a burn. I look very yellow. But there you go. You can see all the awful, terrible hairs on my arm. But there you go. But see, now I actually look like a regular human color rather than like super. And there we go again. I don't know what's happening with that. Anyway, let's talk about our girls. So I wanted to really quickly mention Amber and then get her out of the way. And then we're going to focus a little bit more on Chantal because, oh my God. So first thing on Amber, she's trying real hard, like real hard to take the crown back. And I don't really think it's going to happen. For all that I have talked about Amber, and I'm not always the biggest fan of her, she is genuinely, I think, trying not to be a train wreck. There's a lot of stuff that she used to do that she doesn't do before. And outside of the book bangs, she's really not that like train wrecky anymore. Yeah, that burn is not, no, it's not nice. And you know what the stupid thing is? It isn't even like it wasn't even because I like touched my hand to the stove. It was because I was next to partner and he picked up a hot spoon that had been in the soup and the spoon touched my arm and that's what burned me. Thank you, Anna. Hey, Ariana, thank you for being here. Hi, Travanda. You got to do it. You got to say it. Right, yeah. I don't like the way Chantal put Pete's on blast by asking him if her new man can come over during a live stream. He didn't seem too thrilled, but he's a pushover. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. Hi, B Little. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly or if it's like Blittle or if it's B Little. I think it's B Little, but I'm also an idiot. You guys have to realize that in all things in life. Do you see how different the shapes of my eyeliners are? My hand was like shaking. I'm just not good at this. Thank you, Berta. You're being very kind, even though I know I look crazy. That's okay. It was a classic trying to make them look even, and then it just got out of hand, and I'm like, it's fine. Sometimes, you know, your subscribers know you look crazy, and that is also okay. Oh, no, I got that. I got that. I just wasn't sure if I was, like, being stupid. Or overthinking is actually a really big problem for me. If you guys don't know, have you guys ever seen, what's it called? Doom Patrol. There's a character in there who used to be a federal agent, and then they go live on Danny the Street, and they are like a drag queen. I think their name is like Malcontent or something like that. And it was like, that's what it reminded me of, like a drag stage name, but I thought it was cute. Anyway, yes. So I don't think that despite what Amber portrays to the world, I think her hardest troll right now is just eating on camera. And she knows it's going to trigger people. She knows people hate when she does that, but she's still going to do it anyway because she's like, this is going to get me the most amount of money. belittling, or B. Yeah, I'm going to stick with B if that's okay, because I have mispronounced enough names today. I think it's only been a few minutes, but I know I've done it. Hi, Irma. Yeah, and I think that Amber's trying really hard to move away from that image, but the problem that she's always faced with, and this is always going to be an issue with her, is that she's never, ever going to have an audience that's there primarily to watch her succeed. The way that she's constructed her channel, she attracts a very negative channel. That's the energy she has unfortunately cultivated for herself. And so now when she tries to switch away from that, people are just like not engaged. They're not interested. And she's going to lose a chunk of subscribers if she really seriously makes that switch. And hopefully more people will come on if and when she's successful in losing weight. If she's going to be a lifestyle YouTuber, I don't think that's ever going to happen. There's nothing happening in her lifestyle, unfortunately. Chantal's live right now cooking, but much prefer being here discussing. Yeah, Chantal's lives they're a lot for me. I'm not the hugest fan of them. She does too much. Hey, Wild Rose. Well, Amber is never gonna do it anyway. Yeah. That's the thing. She's never really made a solid attempt at weight loss. The closest we ever got was to the 90 pounds that she lost on camera. I think it was almost 100 pounds, if I remember correctly. I want to give her the credit where credit is due. And I don't think that unless she actually makes that switch fully, wholeheartedly, commits to it for multiple months, I don't think that people are going to be there for her. So when she does do very boring content, people are just not that engaged. And when she gets desperate for money, or when she's falling out of public favor, or, when she's no longer at the top of her game, which is what's happening now, she'll go back to mukbanging because that attracts the most amount of money. Outside of that, though, she's trying to not seem like a train wreck online. I stand behind what I've said before in the past, that I think ALR has a lot of mental health issues, and it does lead her to binge eat. I do believe that she has a binge eating disorder, but her failure to address it is really, at this point, it is what it is. Anyway, so I think as far as Amber is concerned, she's trying really hard to capture that momentum behind her channel. And despite the fact that she's recently been verified, I don't think there's anything that she could do that would compete with what's happening with Chantal, right? Like, there's not many places that you can go from hard drugs with and having sex with a meth addict. So it's a little crazy. The very few times I've popped in Chantal's lives, I feel like I'm always being scolded. Yes, she has a really big issue where she loves talking down to the people who are watching her. Now, I understand. She means it more for people like me, the pieces of shit, the reactors, the judgers, the not true fans, people who unconditionally support Chantal. Unfortunately, because Chantal is so volatile, she really does push a lot of people away. Even people who are kind of on the fence and in the middle, she pushes everyone away. Everybody going live today. Really? There's more people going live? This is just the day that I decided to take off. It's the middle of the week. I figured I'd cut my week into two. Hi, Don Dutton. I'm Hey from the UK. Thank you. I do try and give credit where credit is due. I don't like taking cheap shots, so I'm not gonna stand here and be like I am a paragon of virtue. I know I've said some stuff about both Chantal and Amber in the past out of like a place of extreme frustration and anger at them, but 9 times out of 10, I don't really hate them. I just very severely judge what they're doing with their lives, because I see what they're doing with their lives. I see what I used to do with my life, and the message that they're portraying, that this is just somehow the fault of their mental illnesses, especially, is something that really bothers me. That this is just the way I am, as if self-improvement is not a thing, as if taking accountability for your actions is not a thing. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, your mental health is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And failing to manage that is also on you. It is what it is. Let's see. Gotta shun the non-believers, including just concerned people. Yeah, so tell me if you guys have experienced this, but have you ever done something so stupid that like your friends will be like, nah, son, you're being a like full-blown idiot right now, right? I've had a lot of friends of mine in the past, when I was doing things where I was behaving in a certain manner, literally approach me and be like, this is not it. I don't know what you're doing, but you're not behaving appropriately. I don't know what you're doing, but this is not the right way to act. I've had friends take me to task before. I've had like friends who've like literally yelled at me before. In particular, during my wedding, I was an absolute nightmare. I wasn't like Bridezilla. I wasn't trying to like scream at people or anything like that, but I was micromanaging the shit out of my wedding. I was not sleeping. And yeah, it did become a little bit unmanageable, right? And I had my best friends there to sort of like calm me down, to help bring me back to earth, to help center me a little bit. Chantal doesn't have any friends in real life. And if she did, she would realize. Like, I know she talks about, I think, what was her name? Raina. She's mentioned her a couple times. I don't think her and Raina are particularly close at all. I think they used to be at one point when Chantal was, you know, communicating with other people and whatnot. Hey, Jazzy J, and hey, Joda. Is it Joda or is it like Yoda? I want to say Yoda because that makes me happy, but I also don't know if that's correct. So please do let me know if I'm like mispronouncing your name. She doesn't really have any people in her real life who are willing to talk to her. You know, she doesn't have any people in her real life who are willing to engage with her, who are willing to give her like actual legitimate advice and say, hey, I understand that you feel attacked right now, but you're behaving crazy. Like, make no mistake, if I, soda, but with a J, Joda. Okay. So I've had friends like, sorry, I was gonna say I have friends, I have like family in real life that believe me, if I ever came on here and said, I was hanging out with someone, they had some meth lying around, so I decided to take, you know, one hoot of meth, they would be on, you know, a plane, the first plane out here to like come here in person so they can slap me as hard as humanly possible. Good job, Jazzy J. Everyone, please give Jazzy J a round of applause. She's lost. I'm saying she, I assume most of my audience is a female, just based on my statistics. But if you're not, I apologize. They've lost 30 pounds. Everybody, round of applause, please. That is a huge achievement. That is amazing. Good job and keep it up. They will probably be willing, but got cut off when they did. Yeah, that's exactly, I think you're talking, wait, I was gonna say that's exactly it, but then it occurs to me that you could be talking about something else. I think you are talking about people in Chantal's chats trying to like talk about just, you know, hey, maybe this is not the best idea. Maybe you're doing something that's self-destructive and whatnot. You know, I think that's what you're talking about. But if not, please do correct me because, like I said, I'm an idiot. I've said it before multiple times. And it's true. Post-hysterectomy too. That is very impressive. Those drugs are no joke. They can actually increase your appetite a lot, especially like for women who go through menopause too. It can really increase your appetite once some of the reproductive hormones drop off. So that is fantastic. Keep up the great work. And, you know, wishing you all of the best going forward in life, especially when it comes to weight loss. That's all we want here. We just want people to be happy and healthy, you know? So I don't know how Chantal can claim to have this like vast array, this network of friends and family who are apparently there for her all the time, who are always like, okay, so you still have your ovaries. Oh, okay. So you didn't have a double oophorectomy. Generally, when people say hysterectomy, I assume everything, but yes, that makes sense. That's a very precise use of terminology. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like if you have people in your life who are, you know, counting on you, who care about you, they're not going to let you make stupid decisions. And if she has these people, they would say something. That's why it makes me feel like she doesn't actually have anyone. Hey, Charlie girl, how are you doing? Yeah, I just found out I've literally not been on YouTube. I haven't been really anywhere. I just like opened up Twitter again recently, like the past couple of days. So, you know, being sick kicked my butt. I am not too proud to admit it. You can probably tell too. My face is puffy. My nose is, well, you can't tell because I'm so orange on screen, but my nose is so red. Oh my God. Anyway, so I don't really understand what is going on with Chantal, you guys. I am honestly both worried and not surprised, if that makes any kind of sense. So I said in my previous live stream too that I would not be surprised in the least if she went back to this guy. Chantal is very inconsistent, right? And I feel like if anyone is going to cut it off, it's going to be this guy. She claims to be this very uber confident woman who, like, you know, is just, I don't know, doing her thing and, you know, enjoying the company of gentlemen and all of that. But I think in reality, she is a very insecure woman. And I think just having the attention of anyone on her makes her feel validated. And she said something to the Accord in one of her lives where she said, you know, I'm tired of looking. She'd only look for a couple of weeks, but perseverance is not Chantal's strength. And she had just sounded so defeated when she said that, that it really made me think, how many people was it that she swiped yes on who said no to her, you know? And that kind of thing can really hurt your feelings. Like before I met partner, I had a breakup. The guy, well, that guy went totally crazy on me. But before that, I'd been talking to a guy who like just ghosted me all of a sudden. He's just like not interested. And it did hurt my feelings a little bit. I know how badly that can hurt. She was in a long-term relationship. I think, I think she was with BB for what, 7 years, right? Somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But I think she was with BB for 3 days. 3 days. Sorry, Wild Rose, I read your comment and my mind got distracted. She was with BB for 7 years. I think that's how long I've known partner. If partner all of a sudden said to me, I don't think I can do this anymore, I don't want to be in a relationship, I would be devastated. Let me take a look at the comments. Nothing wrong with feeling sick and out of it. Hope you feel better soon, Jasmine. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in bed. I was actually catching up on a lot of my reading. I'm behind on all of my reading. So I do this really annoying thing where I read different things in different mediums. So like on my phone, I am listening to a book. Hold on, let me tell you what it's called. I think it's called Invisible Women. I'm rereading it, re-listening to it. Not really reading it right now, but I'm re-listening to it. And then on my phone, I'm also reading A Rose for Her Grave by Anne Rule, which if you guys are at all a fan of true crime, Anne is my all-time favorite. She's a fantastic writer, and she does a lot of justice to the victims, which is always a thing that I've found that's hard to do. And then on actual paperback, I'm reading Welcome to Night Vale, which is fantastic. I love the podcast. So I'm reading the book based on that. And on my Kindle, I just started another book. So I'm reading Girls Burn Brighter. That's my book club book. So anyway, those are all the books that I'm reading. I got to incorporate more books into my thing, but I just spend my time in bed reading, trying to feel better. You know, it was mildly successful. And then I got really bored just being in bed all day. And so I was just like, all right, well, this is good. I'm going to take a day off and I'll live stream and try to clean my house. It's like not dirty, but it is really messy. I've got like a pile of clean clothes that need to be folded and put away. And I hate when my house gets like untidy. Anyway, I'm rambling. Back to Chantal. She just did not want to engage with that. Yeah, she looked for 3 days and she was just like, all right, I'm good. I found someone. I'm good, right? And I think that the reason that came about is because she has such a low like idea of her own self-worth that she is unwilling to like keep trying because she doesn't think that she's really going to find anyone better. Honestly, at her size, she should go to a specific BBW community. I am not too familiar with really that corner of the internet, like the dating corner of the internet. Are there like apps or sites specifically for that? I know there's Hinge, there's Bumble, there's Tinder. I only know those 3. Oh no, Coffee Meets Bagel. Is that a thing? I feel like that's a thing. And Plenty of Fish. Those are all the ones that I know. I have a friend of mine who was on and off them somewhat. Hey, Lions Roses, how you doing? I'm doing pretty okay. I'm still kind of sick, so if I sound nasally, that's why. But, you know, unfortunately, I would say her estimation of her self-worth is largely correct. She has nothing going for her at all. So, yes and no. I would say that as far as personality goes, I would agree with you. I think that Chantal is maybe not... I'm trying to find a polite way of saying this, but really the best way I can put it is that she is a antisocial, bigoted shut-in. And she has a lot, like people who have very low self-esteem also tend to swing sometimes towards the narcissism end of the spectrum. And I've seen her fluctuate back and forth between them. She hates everyone, but she still thinks she's better than everyone as well. And then she has just that overbearing, addictive personality where when she really likes something, she really likes something. So we saw that with food, right? She ate. And then now she wants to do THC all the time. And then when it came to like wanting the company of gentlemen and having sex, it was just sex all the time. That's all she wanted to do. So it's like she has that like almost semi-obsessive personality. And so like I can tell you this as someone who has been friends with people like that and who can be like that herself, it can get really tiresome really, really fast when the only thing a person wants to do is discuss that one thing that's happening in their life. It's not like, even if you're very passionate about it, unless the other person is also in that same passion, they're not going to want to engage with that all of the time. Let me see. Phoebe or something? I don't know. Is that a dating thing? I don't know. Sorry, B, I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Apparently, it turns toxic really quickly. I believe you. I don't know. Coffee meets bagel. I knew it was a thing. It is a pretty standard dating app. Yeah, I have a friend of mine. She's a teacher in New York, and she has used it a couple times. She also has a sense of hubris and bravado that she gets from her lives, especially when she's ingesting all of that THC. Yeah, I'm going to get back to that a little bit about her community, which, oof. Specific communities. I think Chantal doesn't want to admit that she should be on them. Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Anna. I really appreciate that. And I love the actual sticker. I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a coffee-based life form. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Ocean Song. And let me just read this. She's hyping up the fact that she has a gaming chair and wants to do podcasts, but that requires her to be consistent and stay, true to her word. Okay, so couple things. Let me backtrack a little bit. So when it comes to admitting that she should be on a BBW specific community, yeah, she really very much so looks down on other fat people. We've seen this before. She has fat shamed Jen. She talked smack about, about Amber when Amber was using the scooters. And so she's done a lot of stuff like that. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that she would not want to go onto a site like that. She thinks that she is above that. She thinks that people should like her because of her personality. And that's not to say that there's not somebody out there for her, right? There's a peg for every hole. That came out sounding a lot more dirty than I meant it. But what I meant to say was there is somebody out there for everyone. Everyone has someone out there who's going to like them, right? But the people who might like Chantal are not the people that she necessarily wants. What she wants is somebody who like looks like Ryan Reynolds, and people who are like that, who care that much about what they look like, don't generally tend to go for people who have that little regard about what they look like. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Susan. I mean, my wings they're not even relatives right now, but thank you. Oh, yes. Eid Mubarak to everyone here who celebrates Eid, anyone on the replay who celebrates Eid. Eid Mubarak to everyone. Really would say they're both ingesting toxins that need to go on a cleanse. You guys know how I feel about cleanses. And yes, yeah, she does. She just does. She's the funniest thing to me was Milk Tea Reacts was talking about the video that she did where Dom got doxxed, and she's like, he has a big nose, but I really like guys with big nose. And then like JustSayin had that little clip that popped up and said like, I don't F with guys whose noses are bigger than their dicks. And I'm like, oof, girl, Jesus, that aged so poorly. Oh my God. So that I found absolutely hilarious, but also just like hypocritical, right? Like I said before, her type is anyone who likes her. That's basically what she wants. Someone who thinks that she's sexy is what she wants, which is, I mean, desire is something that's desired by people, right? But like at the same time, you shouldn't be quite so desperate for the validation of others. You should have an internal sense of self-worth. I swear to God, I cannot talk anymore. She thinks she's above us all, yet breathes like my breathes, because I cannot talk, like my 3-year-old niece when she has a cold. Yeah. I mean, she thinks that it's one of those things where it's like, I think everybody is garbage, but I'm still like at the top of that garbage heap, you know? Like she thinks that she's better than everyone. And like the clearest example of her being cowed by someone who she clearly views to be in a superior strata than her would be her interaction with Swole Normus. I've said before, Swole Normus is an incredibly handsome man. He looks like Thor. He is very, very well built. Like, my God, you need multiple tickets to that gun show. And he is a successful YouTuber, right? She was so intimidated by him that she was all like, well, you know, please, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. She's so demure and calm and nice about him because she views him as a superior. She views him as someone who is better than her, right? And you can see that there. And so it makes it really funny to me when she responds to other people, right? People who are maybe like, who she views as being like, you're worse than I am. And our criteria for why someone is worse is what really upsets me. So we all know the Charlie Cole saga, right? Like, I don't want it to get forgotten because a lot happens in Chantal's worlds and stuff moves very, very fast. But I don't ever want it to be forgotten that she made a bigoted comment, then doubled down on it, then tripled down on it. And To Date has never once apologized, even though we know she doesn't stand behind those statements because she's never, ever reasserted them. All right. Sorry, I got really mad. So my phone is here and I apologize. I'm just getting like consistent messages and 90% of them are from my mother. So like, don't worry about it. If a man told me I had 4 boobs because of obesity, I would have left him standing. Are you kidding? If someone said that to me, if someone made me feel, do you remember when she was talking about how both him and Dom and his friend were discussing her body and she was just there. They were just talking about like fat women. And she was just there listening to them essentially just dog on her. Are you kidding? There is not a damn thing in this entire world, except, okay, like maybe if you were giving me whatever it is that Melinda Gates and Bill Gates are going to end up with after their divorce is done, maybe then I'd be like, all right, cool, I'm going to be here. You can debase me for a little while longer. But beyond that, there's very little you could do that would be like, okay, yeah, sit here while I insult you to your face. Not even talking to you. Talking about you as if you were an object. Like I am a table at, Ashley Furniture Store and there's 2 people talking about, well, do you think it's wide enough? Do you think it's going to fit in the kitchen? Do you think it's going to break our backs if we try to pick it up? It's ridiculous. Yeah, that was so incredibly racist. I agree. It was awful. I will never, ever forgive her for that. Sorry. I am so sorry. I'm sorry about that, guys. I can't, but I also sadly can believe that she's out there doing other people's meth. Yeah. 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 Your assessment of her character is so spot on. Thank you. I try and be charitable where I can. It's hard sometimes. She shows her ass so much on camera, and I'm not even talking about the literal amount of ass that we've recently almost gotten. So, T overflow. That's a good point about Papa Swole. She must act like that around Dom. Yes, and I do think that she does. I really do think that that's how she acts around him. She acts like you are better than me because you have deigned to have sex with me. Then you are all of a sudden better than I am. Because the way that she sees it is that if somebody looked like her, she wouldn't want to have sex with them, right? Because she, like I said, she has a very poor opinion of fat people most of the time. We've seen that again and again. I can't believe she's not seeing these things as an issue. Yeah, I mean, as far as Chantal not seeing her behavior as an issue, she thinks that just like anything anyone is saying that's negative, it's all like justified because she gets shit. And before anyone says like that, well, Chantal does get a lot of hate. She does. 100% agree with you on that. And not all of it, by the way, is fair, even criticism. Some of it is just pure vitriolic hate. Right. And you can see that just by looking at like Amber's comments too. There's a lot of people out there really fed up with her nonsense, but there's a lot of people out there that are really, really also disgusting to her. That said, This is the internet. There's a lot of avenues in life that she could have chosen to go down that she chose not to go down, and now is complaining about this part of her job. And that's what it is. You know, this is her job. All right, let me catch up a little bit. I'm from the South. You don't do that. I'm a historian, and I've tried to give Chantal a few lectures. I should give her some lectures on the Jim Crow South. Yes. Yeah. She doesn't seem to realize that just because she didn't mean for something to come across as offensive doesn't mean that it can't be offensive. I've said before that I said something in one of my videos, and someone was very kind and pointed out to me in the comments that, hey, I don't know if you know, but this phrase actually has a history of being used in a racist way. Now, I was not aware of the racist past of this. I am not one of the groups affected by this term. And so I didn't know. I just didn't know, to be very honest with you. And so she like gave me some information. I went, I looked it up. I verified it on my own. Remember, always check, always make sure that you do your own research. Don't even take my opinion for things. You know, I'm telling you something. That's why if I'm doing a more science heavy video, I like to link all of my sources below. And so I checked and I looked it up and I'm like, she's absolutely correct. I was absolutely wrong here. And so I'm just going to go forward. I'm going to apologize and I'm not going to say it again going forward. Right. And that's all there is to it. It's understanding that you were wrong. People are going to be wrong about everything. No one is. I mean, like, hell, even Dr. Fauci in the beginning didn't say that masks were going to be helpful. Right. Like, people are wrong. Even the smartest people are going to be wrong. There's always going to be information out there that you don't know. Just own up to it. All right. I got off on a really big tangent. You are charitable. That's the thing. You're one of the few reaction channels with a balanced perspective. A joy to listen to. Thank you so much, Susan. And the thing is, she's not entirely an evil person. I stand behind what I said regarding her being a bigot. I do think that she is a bigot, right? But I think that Chantal's inability to learn is kind of what puts her in that category, right? It's her inability to recognize that other people know better than her, and her willingness to talk over and ignore the groups who are actually hurt and affected by this. Look, I am not the moral authority here. I am never going to claim to know everything, especially when it comes to the comment that she made against Jewish people, the comment that she made against Charlie Gold, and the repeated semi-endorsement that she does of racism and like just awful people in her comments. So I'm not gonna be able to correctly give you all of the information because I am none of those affected groups. So sometimes my information will come across as wrong. But when people of those groups approach you and say, maybe don't do that, maybe don't do that, you know, like when she said the R word and she's like, well, that's not how I meant it, you know, for me it just means stupid. And I remember reading something about like someone talking about this on Twitter where they're like, you know, that's my emotional support slur. And it was so stupid to me. I don't care how you used it, right? People use the F word regarding gay people. They've used that term to mean like lesser than, to mean like sissy, to mean soft, to mean unmanly for a very long period of time. That's because they're making an association between those things and people who are gay. So when you say something like that, understand that even though you don't mean it as a slur, it is still a slur, right? It's still a slur. I reported every live in which she has been high and YouTube has done nothing. YouTube isn't going to really do anything. I'm surprised at the fact that people are still like reporting her. Not that I don't think she deserves some of it. But she doesn't age restrict a lot of her lives because then she wouldn't be able to get super chats, which is a problem because Chantal makes her living on those super chats at this point. She doesn't really have a lot of like replay stuff happening, right? And I'm just surprised that YouTube doesn't seem to care. You know, I don't know. It's a lot. Her spurging about America was so stupid. I can't. Yeah. So you guys, some of you guys know this. I am a triple threat, as they like to call it. I am Pakistani, I'm Canadian, and I'm American. I am a nomad. I belong to no country and to all of the countries. Well, at least those 3 countries. But I've spent a good portion of my childhood traveling from place to place as well. And so my just like understanding of the world is that there are parts of the world that are fantastic. And it's not, when I say parts of the world, I don't mean countries. I literally mean there are aspects of every single country that I appreciate and love. right? There is not a country out there without its flaws. And many could argue that America, you know, is at like the forefront of it. But that's because America is the superpower right now. Before that, Britain was at the forefront of it because they were the superpower, right? So it's like, take everything with a grain of salt. Yes, Canada has a better track record than America is. But if you looked at the way that Indigenous women have been treated there, even recently, you would know that it is by no means like the northern utopia that a lot of people like to portray it as. It's a realistic country with realistic problems. They're just addressing it slightly better than people are addressing it here. That's all. Intention doesn't outweigh impact. Yes, that's exactly it. Thank you, Holly. You've hit it right on the head. Intention doesn't outweigh impact. It doesn't matter what your intent was. At the end of the day, you were still in the wrong here. And the thing is, admitting that you were in the wrong doesn't make you a smaller person. 9 times out of 10, people who can actually admit that they've done something wrong, owe up to their mistakes and move forward and like apologize, people tend to really like that. Like a really good example of that would be the subreddit, Am I the asshole? When people say, hey, you were the asshole, people come back and they're like, all right, you guys are right. I was being the asshole. I apologized and, you know, this and this happened. People take to that so well. They're like all encouragements and love, even people, the exact people who were giving you so much hate before. People appreciate people who can admit fault. She's more likely to talk too much when she's out of her mind on edibles. I don't know, because yes, she does say a lot more stuff, but at the same time, there's so much just like, you know, like just dead blank stare. I'm just not at all invested in that. Hello, first time catching a live. Thank you for being here. I cannot pronounce that at all. If you want to tell me, please let me please let me know. I'd be happy to try if you want to hear me butcher it. I'm not even, that looks like Polish to me, but I don't know. Fun fact, did everyone know here Polish is the hardest language in the world to learn? You know something new every day. I would say that Canada's track record is better also because we just never had real power. If we had all of the US's military might, Trudeau would be bombing other nations. Bet on it. Yeah. Trudeau, I have my issues with Justin Trudeau. Hey, T. Higgins, thank you for being here. Hey, girl, hey. Yeah, I really miss seeing you guys as well. I know that sounds weird, but there's like quite a few people whose names I just recognize now. So when I see them, I'm like, oh, look, it's Friend. Yeah, I do think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that also Canada is genuinely just a younger country, right? And the population there is still so much smaller that it's hard. And yes, absolutely, I would not trust Justin Trudeau with an immense amount of power. If you guys aren't aware of what's happening, what was the name of that company? The one where there was an entire scandal where he like fired their version of the attorney general. My grasp on politics for Canada is a little bit slow, which is why I don't like to comment on it quite as much as I would like. I don't know quite as much. Dom looks healthy to Chantal simply for being extremely skinny with visible muscles. Even out of shape men will have visible muscles when they have literally no fat on their body. Yes. Did you guys catch what she said regarding no, you're right on time, D. We've got tons of time happening. Okay, and it's Capitan. Capitan? Like captain? Or is it Capitan? Ziotsky. Captain Ziotsky. All right, let me know if I'm pronouncing that correct now, but I could still be crazy. Okay, also those characters look Russian too. Yes, once more, I don't know anything. I'm literally an idiot. Like I'll say it before. I'm like, anyone who hates me, please feel free to say it down below too. I'm 100% willing to admit I only know the very few things that I feel comfortable talking about, I talk about. 9 times out of 10, I know like only 4 things. We're talking about Chantal's nuke opinions. Don't know my mind, I missed that. Yeah, so she described him as a drug addict before she even met him. And I'll address that comment a little bit more in a second, but she's just willing to overlook so many of her flaws. And you guys have seen this. She did a recent video too where she's doing like this rehabilitation tour where she knows she said something bad. She did something bad. And now she's like, okay, I'm getting a lot of heat for this and I don't want to deal with that nonsense because, you know, Chantal, she's never about the consequences of her actions. So she's now like going around and saying, well, okay, I know what I said, but that was like, hey, I was wrong then, but I'm right now. Right. And so she just does stuff like that where she's like, he's not a drug addict, you guys. He's really not. He's really not a drug addict. You don't know him. You've never met him. Tell me, friends, if you have someone who you knew who has more familiarity with this, or if you yourself have had a past with this, could you please tell me, do you have any friends who leave crack pipes at your house? Right? I'm a fairly social person, right? And pre-COVID, I would have people at my house all the live long day. I have a friend of mine who she's like the most extroverted person I have ever met in real life. Like, I swear to God, she's like a parody of a human person. I love her. She is so extroverted. And you know what's funny? No one has ever left a crack pipe at her house. Not one, not a single crack pipe. You don't get to that level of familiarity with someone where you're just leaving crack pipes around their house, right? Unless it's actually a drug den, or you know that they're not going to take your drugs, or they are your drugs. Could just be your drugs. I'm embarrassed to be American, especially because I'm Southern. I've lived overseas for years. I'm trying so hard to get back to Norway. So I think that the South gets a really bad rap overall. I mean, I'm speaking out of my ass too, Jazzy J. So like, correct me. Please feel free to like spank me verbally speaking. I don't know why I say things like that when I know they're going to come out inappropriate. Thank you, Amanda. They're very unmatched. I know I keep saying it, but genuinely, I keep seeing my eyes in the viewfinder, and I'm like, oh my God. But I think the South gets a really, really bad rap. I've been to some places in the South, like Florida, some places in Florida, like Georgia. There's some great places in like Mississippi and like a lot of the Southern states, right? And there's no place that's a monolith. And a lot of people are just good, solid people. But it's that unwillingness to recognize when something could be like wrong in your way of thinking. I think that damns a lot of very good people. And I think that's kind of what happens. But I mean, I've been to a lot of Southern states. I've never really had a lot of issues. I will say I have been more along the coasts, right? Like, so I've like driven a little bit from, I think it was like from New Orleans to Florida. I drove that. So, but people are people. Okay, let me read through the comments a little bit because I want to know about crack pipes. I have never seen a crack pipe, and I grew up in the 90s. Yes, I have literally never seen one in real life. I've only ever seen them on TV. Yep, never seen a crack pipe lying around, never seen yeah, see? No one has seen a crack pipe lying around. It's almost like people who are not casually affiliated with crack don't generally tend to see crack pipes. And like, what's more, I said it before, I know how to get a hold of both like the marijuana, both legal and the illegal variety. I mean, it's not illegal where I am. I'm in the States, so like state-wise, it's fine, but like federally, it's a different thing. But, you know, I don't know anywhere where I can buy this. I don't know a single person who, you know, has been like, I don't know a single person who could like sell me any of that stuff. Like, I don't know how to get a hold of this. And honestly, outside of like EDM concerts, I have no idea where I would find like ecstasy. I just don't know. No one knows. I don't think that most people who are just like regular human people who don't do a ton of drugs have a regular person who deals them hard drugs. Maybe I'm crazy. I could also just have I grew up very, very sheltered. So like my view could also be very wrong. People shouldn't stereotype places as racist, even if there's some truth to it. I wasn't offered a job because they thought my accent would trigger students. Okay, that's bad. If it makes you feel any better, literally the reason I started wearing makeup was because I went in for an internship. Sorry, that's moving. My like chair pushes it backboard. But I had an internship and they gave it to somebody else, even though I was more qualified, because this was a public facing internship. They needed somebody to talk to people who were coming in, and they didn't think that with my baggy oversized suit and my inability to draw an eyeliner correctly, which clearly hasn't changed, that I would be able to do that and represent them well. And I literally I went home and I was like, fuck this shit. And I started looking up like videos on YouTube by Michelle Phan, which taught me nothing. But then like 4 or 5 years down the line, I was just like putting stuff on my face and I'm like, you know, That kind of looks decent. That's good. That's how it started. Now you have my origin story. If you go to if you go to larger cities, it's nice. The more rural you go, the more stereotypical it gets. I'm Southern as well. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, there's both good and bad when it comes to stereotypes, right? Like I'll just a quick detour, but there's the good stereotypes, which is, like the Southern hospitality, the helping out your neighbor. All of those things are true. People like in New York don't generally tend to know you all that much. Then they are ruder, right? Like I've met some very, very polite people. There's also like the negative stereotypes. I'm sure there's some grain of salt to both of them, but like it doesn't mean that everybody is bad. And once more, this does not mean that people in like San Francisco are like, yay, right? Like that's the most liberal place I can think of. It's like SF, at least in my view. And it's just like people there aren't nice. I've had some really awful interactions there too. You guys know this, I go down to California like all the time because I have family there. So, okay. I'm weirdly obsessed with horse blogs for a while, so I know a bit about horses. People are a bit dumb. I'm not sure what those two things have to do with each other. I might have missed a little bit of chat, but I absolutely agree. Yeah, wasted Poe. Yeah, I don't even have a sense of what crack is supposed to look like. So this idea that she has that he just has a passing familiarity with it. And then she also said that she's like, he has just a bruised vein because he like donates so much blood. All right. Fun fact, I have my blood type is B positive, which is a little bit harder to find in the US sometimes. And so I donate blood with like an alarming amount of regularity. I also tend to actually run quite high when it comes to my blood, right? Like it's like 15.5, sorry, 15.5. 12.5 is like the average. I tend to be like 15.5, 16. They've had me tested multiple times thinking there was something wrong. There never is. I'm just high, just weird. And so I donate blood all the time. I also bruise like old peaches all the damn time. And I'm telling you that the only time I get like bruises here are when someone sticks the needle in correctly and then it looks like a puddle. A bruised vein is a very different thing. That only happens if you're pricking again and again along that same vein multiple times, right? When you're withdrawing blood, they'll poke one vein here and they'll go, okay, we couldn't get that one. Let me like try a different vein. And so you'll get a few different punctures here and you might have like a pool of blood here and it'll look like a big bruise. But when you are injecting, you tend to inject in the same few spots over and over and over again. And that leads to that bruised vein looking thing. You've probably seen it on TV. You've probably seen it in TV shows. You can also like look it up. Please don't take my word for things. If I haven't mentioned I'm an idiot enough times, then please. Then, how can you okay. So the fact that she's trying to present bruised veins as being a symptom of him just being a really stand-up guy, you guys, is idiotic. Let me just read the comments really fast. I love the South. It's so wonderful, laid back, and easy living. Yeah, there's some really great places, really great things about living in the South. How did you find out your blood type? I go to the hospital. I had to go to the hospital a while back when I was younger, actually, when I was like 10. Fun fact, I was in a coma. I was in a coma when I was like 10 years old because I got the chicken pox and it like crossed the blood-brain barrier. So that's apparently like rare. And so I was in a coma and just they have all my medical history there. And that's I think that's where I saw it for the first time. But no, I also like saying it because I like saying be positive because it's both my outlook on life and my blood type. It's being positive is literally in my blood. I love saying that because I'm cheesy. How did she do it 7 times? She can't breathe. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't like that. Okay. I had a PICC line make my chest veins very visible. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, Smelly Cat. I don't know what that means. Yeah. So the fact that she is just willing to overlook that. And then this brings me back to like her willingness to overlook a lot of the flaws, right? Look, I have been with partners in the past who my parents haven't liked, right? In particular, I was talking to this person and my parents thought that he was very unambitious. And I remember a PICC line is a very tiny IV. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that information. I did not know that. Okay, so you can get bruised veins from that as well. But she'd said something along the lines of because he gives so much blood. I'm assuming it's because she saw multiple pinpricks, but that just might be me extrapolating a little bit too far. PICC line is a very long IV that is inserted into the arm, and the tip is in the superior vena cava. All right, cool. So yeah, so she's doing what I would do for that partner, right? But rather than with my parents, and with me being like 20, she's doing it with the internet at large, where she will tell people the unabided truth. And then when she realizes that people don't like what she has to say, rather than just being like, okay, this might be a problem, she goes back and she retroactively tries to correct it, right? And I don't know how much of it is registering, because I remember when I was making excuses, when I make excuses for like stuff that I'm doing, or honestly, sometimes even when partner gets on people's nerves, right? Like if I make excuses for, I know I'm making excuses for, I'm aware of that, right? I just don't want to admit it to other people. It's like the hide your dirty laundry type of thing. And it's not a great mentality to have overall, because I think people should be allowed to represent who they are. You shouldn't be doing that for them. But more importantly, when you're doing it in terms of drug use, I think it's particularly problematic, right? There might be people in his life who are in the position to believe what she's saying, who are, I wouldn't say susceptible, but much more willing to buy her nonsense. Because they want to believe that this person that she's seeing is doing better than she is. Maybe people who are familiar with his drug habits, maybe people who are hoping he's doing better if he is addicted to drugs, right? And they might believe what Chantal is saying because they're like, well, she has regular contact with him. She would know, right? Even if what she's saying doesn't really make all that much sense. People can delude themselves into believing just about anything. And that's kind of what I worry about. I wouldn't want someone to present a false view of themselves and give people the idea they're something that they're not. And to a certain degree, I do believe he's doing that with her. I do believe he's gaslighting her. I do believe that he makes her think that some things that should be true are not true. I think that he gets her to reassess her view of him. Right? We've seen it a few times. He'll do something, he'll push her away because he's being, too much. And then all of a sudden, he'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. And he's testing the boundaries of what she's willing to put up with. And, people have said this before, and once more, very, very much so stand behind that she's very easily manipulated. She's got a very, fuck you, I do what I want, you don't own me sort of thought process. And because of that, people can frame things as being like, well, don't you do that. You don't do that. Okay. Like the way you would do reverse psychology with a toddler. That's kind of what she's like. And because she has that view of herself, because she likes to behave in this manner, it's really easy to convince her and be like, don't do that. And she'll be like, I'm going to do it. How dare you stop me from doing something I want? A friend of mine has a particularly misbehaved puppy, and this puppy is like, they're very, very much so rebellious. All they want to do is all the things they're not supposed to do. So when she had a crate for them, they were unwilling to go into the crate. I don't know if it's a boy puppy or a girl puppy, but the puppy was unwilling to go into the crate for like car rides and stuff like that, right? And so they literally just took the handle off of the thing, and the puppy just toddled right in. That's it. Just didn't want to do a thing because you are making me do it. I will not go in there because you're making me do it. Oh, the door's open. I can leave anytime I want. All right. Well, this looks like a nice place for me. That's kind of what it is. Ignorance is bliss is her motto. Absolutely. And she's very much so the kind of person who's like, the more I ignore this, the better it will be for me, which is just such a silly thing. Like, problems in your life don't go away without you confronting them. You only just put them off for a little bit of time, right? Yes, it is incredibly adorable. Puppy's a little bigger now. It's been a few months. Puppy's gotten bigger. Very cute though still. She's very much so like this with her health. We've seen her multiple times put off problems. We've recently seen her legs again, and you guys have seen how bad her skin looks. I would be so worried. Like, some people mentioned this to me in the comments when this had first become an issue. I asked my brother, who, once more, if anyone's new here, my brother's a doctor, and I asked him what could cause those kinds of bruises, and he said that, he also confirmed, that looks like diabetic neuropathy. And so this could be a symptom of having severe diabetes. That is So concerning. And recently, are we still discussing Chantal? Yes, I veer into tangents a lot, but yes. And recently she's done a blood test, and you saw it's been consistently high almost every time she's done it. Hey, acrophobe, how you doing, my guy? She just applies another face mask, like that would help. Yes, she has a very Instagram version of like self-care. She has that about a lot of things. We've seen this with her like juice cleanses, with her apparently eating healthy means only eating like vegetables, like steamed vegetables and quinoa, she doesn't seem to understand like restraint in anything. And same thing with the face mask, right? Taking like self-care. Yes, it can mean doing a face mask and relaxing, but it can also mean getting up, going to the gym, going to the doctors, putting lotion on your legs, and doing your fucking work. Taking care of yourself is not just self-care Instagram culture. Taking care of yourself is taking care of yourself. That means restriction when necessary. That means taking care of your finances when necessary. That means planning for the future. That means having a long-term plan, having a long-term goal. Oh my God, nothing in her life is about self-care. Nothing in her life is taking care of herself. All she likes to do is the Instagram version of it, because she thinks if she fixes that, if she just does the right easy things, then it'll be fine. She doesn't want to address anything on the inside. That's why she doesn't go to the doctors, right? That's why she doesn't like to restrict her food. That's why she doesn't like to do any of the exercise. That's why she doesn't like to talk to her therapist. None of that stuff. She doesn't want to fix anything on the outside. It's like if your house has got foundational issues, you're not just going to put some spackle on it, paint over the crack, and be like, all right, all fixed. No, those issues are going to come back to haunt you. Let me take a look at the comments. Jazonda, what have I missed? Mostly just me going off on tangents. I would say I go off on tangents a lot. She's destroying everybody's system by not treating her diabetes. Yeah, weight is the root, like being fat, obese in her case, is the root of 1,000 illnesses. My mom has said this to me, and I 100% believe it. 100% believe it. It can lead to so many problems down the line. Your knees, your ankles, aging, aching, everything takes a hit when you've got diabetes. And Chantal is at such high risk for it. She's at such high risk for it. Her diet is incredibly carb heavy and very poor. She is missing her like hormone producing sexual organs. She's very, very sedentary. And she's got a host of other complications. I don't understand this woman. She says her feet are swollen. So I will take a cue from your name, Be Kind Now. And I will say that, that could just be because she's a really heavy lady and she's been walking a lot more recently. That could just result in that happening. She can just get like actual swollen. Her face was purple the other night, like legit purple. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. That picture that she had where she's wearing that bra and she's got that face mask on, I think that very clearly illustrates Chantal as a whole, right? That's what she thinks taking care of herself means. You put on a face mask, you put on a cute bra, and that's it. Never mind that the face mask is not going to help your skin because you sleep in your makeup, and never mind that the bra is 2 sizes too big and you don't care about returning it. There's no thought into it. There's no planning into it. There's nothing. It's just do the thing and hopefully you'll be fine. It was her laying there with the mask on, without the mask on. I think her Egyptian dancer, soccer player, masseuse, magician, chef lover told her about his donating blood to account for his track marks. Yikes. Yeah. We discussed that a little bit as well about my extreme concern with that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the doxing. If you guys don't know, Kiwi Farms recently doxed Dom. I won't put any of his information on here, mostly because I don't care, but also equally as importantly is that I don't remember. I know about the doxing. It was all over Twitter. People were talking about it. I don't like going on Kiwi Farms, to be very honest with you guys. There's a lot of like really awful people on there, and whatever, like, I agree with the whole archiving thing. I think once you put something on the internet, understand that it'll be there forever. And I don't care if they want to discuss Chantal. I mean, fuck, I do it all the time, right? But some of the language that they use, especially about like just talking about how like death would be the only acceptable solution, and just like really awful things sometimes they say. And there's been a lot of like racism there too. It just makes me very uncomfortable. And I'll be very frank with you. I don't like going there. I don't even like checking it a lot of the times. No offense. If you guys are on there, not everyone is bad, I'm sure, but every once in a while you get there and it's just like, hey, Casey. Nope, you haven't missed all that much. Come on in. Like the creepy part of the URL of his Facebook page. I don't know. But yeah, so I just don't like going out there. So I don't know enough about this guy. All that is to say, I have very complicated feelings about his doxing, right? This guy is so incredibly shady. Genuinely, he's very, very shady. I'd be worried about myself if Dom finds out if he was doxxed. He's so shady. Imagine what he'd do if he's angry, and the shadiness of the people who are around him. So yeah, so I have two thoughts on that. So he's such a shady, scary guy to me, genuinely, you know. And whatever you want to say about Chantal, yeah, she's hard to kidnap because she's so fat. Let's keep in mind, Chantal can't run away either. So if someone attacks her, she can't really get away from them. And that makes me worry that she would actually be in a position to be easily taken advantage of, especially by someone who seems like they have a temper, who's very possessive, and who might be out of their mind on drugs. Jasmine the sequel, the URL of his Facebook page apparently included the name of a dead woman. She died of a heart attack or something similar at the age of 45. She was also very fat. Yeah, he's always given me the vague impression that he likes Chantal because he likes fat girls and not because he likes Chantal. And someone somewhat resembled Chantal, but prettier. That's very subjective. Chantal cleans up nice when she makes the effort. She doesn't often make the effort. I went to the farms once and couldn't figure out how it works, so I gave up. That is also very true. I also am like I'm like a Luddite. I'm not technologically advanced at all, which is why this setup never seems to get any better, and my lighting is always atrocious. But partner is working on that in his spare time, so fingers crossed. Anyway, what was I saying? He terrifies me as well, Lions. And that's why I'm scared about the fact that he's been doxxed. So there's two possible outcomes here. One is he finds out he's been doxxed. He finds out that Chantal was the one that led to his doxing, right? He might be a Luddite like I am, but even I can figure out the fact that Chantal basically gave the information away by being an idiot and taking the internet lightly, which you should never, ever do. But at the same time, I also think being so shady, right? My first thought would be self-preservation. I would want to take care of myself. I'd want to make sure that no one could get back to me. So if I was the kind of person who was, who had crack pipes lying around, who had track marks on my arms, people might think, hey, maybe this person is connected to the drug world. Maybe someone should call the cops and just let them know. Maybe the cops come knocking. And if this person isn't a citizen, that might result in deportation. That's a real thing that can happen. So if I was that kind of a person, I might just say, this isn't worth it. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I'm out, right? And in that case, it might be a good thing. So I'm of a split mind. Do I care about his doxing? For the most part, genuinely, I mean this, I am very anti-doxing. Like almost anyone, I am anti-doxing. I think that doxing is one of the worst things you can do. People don't want to be found. Just let them not be found. Anything that they're putting on the internet is there forever. Anyone who actually comes across their content and knows them is going to know who they are and what they put out. But it's still not like an okay thing to do, to dig through all their information, find who they are, and then like email everyone in their lives or whatever it is doxers do. It's not a nice thing to do. I really don't like the practice. I'm very anti it. That said, if there's anyone out there who I'd be okay with doxing, it would be Kiro the Wolf. But then after that, it would probably be Dom. Because I think the more people know about the shadiness of his behavior, the better it is. The more people can connect it to his name, the better it is. Because then if, God forbid, anything ever happens, I really don't want anything to happen to her, but if God forbid anything ever happens to her, people know who he is. They can track him down, right? Whatever you want to say about the Kiwi farmers, they are very adamant. They're very like, they go at it hard. Okay. Agro, maybe this individual does drugs. Just a small, I mean, it's a leap. I know you couldn't even imagine it, but what if it's true, you know? She had a reason to not to tell him yet. I think the reason that Chantal doesn't want to tell him about, excuse me, I think the reason why Chantal doesn't want to tell him about her YouTube channel is because her YouTube channel makes her seem fucking crazy. Do you guys remember the whole Nick saga? Yeah, Kiro is disgusting. He is absolutely atrocious. Like, legitimately, it made it actually hard for me to sleep after watching the entirety of that video. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Still, like, not feeling 100%. So, like, I'm still sneezing a lot and all that stuff. There's a difference between intentionally trying to find someone's hidden information and just putting 2 and 2 together from what people unwittingly put on their own. The second thing is doxing. Yes, and I would agree with that. I think the second thing isn't doxing per se, but I do think it's still doxing in this case. I just don't think the doxers are Kiwi Farms, you know? Because Chantal doxed him. Chantal put the information out there, and then people were like, oh, this is who it is, right? She doxed him. She was the one to put the information out there. Like, if you guys aren't aware, you guys probably know who the antis are. And there was a little bit of time ago, the Gaining Ground, who was the original anti, as it were, was talking about how he'd been doxed, but he'd literally had his information out there on a public platform. Might not have been a very well-known public platform, but it was out there, right? You can't say I have been doxed and then be like, how dare you look up information about me that I said publicly and hold me accountable for that? That is ridiculous. No, if you put your information out there, people are going to run with it. That's why, like, legitimately, I don't have a lot of social media stuff. I don't do a lot of social media stuff because I worry about that. I like having this community to talk to, but beyond that, I don't do it, right? I don't want my information out there. I don't want people finding out about me. I don't want people showing up at my house. I don't know what. I mean, you guys are not like crazy and this community is fairly small, but still, right? You don't want that attention. And it's not just about me. It's people in my life too, right? Like, Chantal doing this has led to the doxing of her family. Because Chantal has such a massive audience of hate watchers, she's exposed her sister, her mom, her grandmother, Pete's mom, potentially any partners that either one of them has, right? And she keeps talking about it. She keeps doing it. She keeps coming online and talking and talking and talking. And she doesn't seem to realize that there are going to be consequences. Actions have consequences. Oh my God. He might have already known about her channel. Yeah, so yes, she did say that she told him about it, but there's a difference between saying, you know, hey, I have a YouTube channel, fun fact. Like, I've told some friends of mine that I'm like, hey, I have a YouTube channel. But there's a big difference between saying that and being like, I have a YouTube channel where I met a guy for 15 minutes and then got into the car and then talked about how I wanted to have his babies. You know what I mean? Like, she makes herself look very insane on her channel, so it's hard. So that's why. I mean, he might know about her channel. He might not know about the extent of her channel. Hey, Clara, what you been up to? Her mods have been doxxed. Yes. Yeah. Wait, has Karate Joe been doxxed? I mean, no, wait, don't tell me any of his information. I'm just curious. Karate Joe's a creepy guy. That's all. Yes. Yeah, but that's the thing. She doesn't care. No, Chantal doesn't think internet people are real until there's actually some real life consequences to what she's doing. Like, for example, she says something awful and like, it actually causes, I don't know, the police to investigate or YouTube to shut down her channel and for her to not make money. Until something actually really awful happens, I don't think Chantal's going to consider that anything she does on the internet is real. I think she just thinks that it's fine. You know, internet people are just internet people. They're just saying things. Oh, okay. Karate Joe has apparently been doxxed. I did not know this. It doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, I don't know if I feel bad about it. Once more, he's a creepy guy. As much as I don't appreciate doxing, every once in a while, it makes me feel better knowing that someone out there is keeping a tab on the legitimately scary people out there, you know? Especially with some of the genuinely, like, especially with some of the antis, it worries me. The lengths to which they are willing to, like, descend and to talk shit. Like, it's one, like, I talk shit all day, every day. I will admit it freely, right? But I don't threaten people. I don't care. It's not that serious to me. But some of the stuff that, you know, like, Gigi and Negs and like whatnot they've said is actually very scary to me. It's scary to me the lengths at which they're willing to descend to apparently make their point. Like, it's not that serious. And quite frankly, I don't think it's like necessary is a different topic altogether, but I don't think that it's like at all in the same realm of what I'm talking about. If I call Chantal, I think that you're really, really fat, right? Say if I say that to Chantal, okay, does that make me a fat shaming mean person? Absolutely. It makes me garbage for just like unilaterally just saying that about her. If she was like not a terrible person, well, even if she is a terrible person, just fat shaming someone for no reason, it's a bad thing to do, right? But does that require someone to come at me and be like, I will hunt you down and I will tell my friend who lives in your building to come and beat the crap out of you? You know, like, just it's not equal. It's not equal. Anyway, I got sidetracked again. Okay, hold on, let me go back and read the comments. Filed Rose, if Chantal didn't have her own other man going on and was jealous of Pete's having her, I bet she would have had sabotaged it by now. Oh, you guys are talking about Winnipeg, right? Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think I said it in one of my original streams that if and when Pete gets a girlfriend, if she has a girlfriend before Chantal has a boyfriend, she will absolutely not allow the girl over. She would have, I swear to you, if this was happening and Pete was like, hey, this girl lives alone. She doesn't have contact with anyone. She's at home. Can I bring her over? She absolutely would have been like, nope, social distancing. No one coming over. That's the kind of energy she would give me. It's kind of sad how much info her mods put out there on themselves. Like, they can't talk to anyone else. They act like their chat messages on her live streams or private messages to her or something. Okay, so I mentioned a little while earlier that we'll get back to her mods. So that's actually very, very spot on. What I've been noticing a lot in Chantal's chats, that I've noticed that it's a two-way street, right? I've talked at length about parasocial relationships, so I won't get into that again here. But very, very genuinely, I think the reason that a lot of these people support Chantal so hard is the same reason that I'm critical of Chantal, is because they see a lot of themselves in Chantal. They see that there is this girl. She's fat. She's trying to live her life, and people are just bullying her, right? And there's a lot of other things about Chantal. But if you yourself are fat and you're looking for people to relate to, and there's somebody out here who's willing to engage with you, who you can spend time with, who feels like a friend, right? Because of this social media interaction. And whatever you want to say about Chantal, she is 100% authentic. You might become overly enamored with her. You might become overly attached with her. And just in the same way that I don't think Chantal has a lot of friends outside of this, some of those people I genuinely don't think have a lot of friends outside of YouTube, outside of Chantal, outside of, the live streams that she does. And my evidence of that would be the hours and hours they spend on live with her. Some of these people are on there with like 4, 5, 6 hours. How? I'll be frank with you guys. Like, I'm doing this live stream. One of the reasons I don't do a lot of live streams is because it is hard for me to find a chunk of time in the middle of the day where I can just sit down and talk to people. I don't have that much time in my day. I have friends, family, a job, partner, and a life, right? Like, it's not much of one right now because of COVID, but yes, I have one. So then how can all of these people, not just like a couple, but there's a lot of them that will sit online with her for hours? How? Both Chantal and AmberLynn will never accept that we hate their personalities and not their weight. I really want them to lose weight, if only for that reason, because I want them to lose the weight so that when we criticize them, then they can't come on there and say, you just hate me because I'm fat. No, I don't like you for a multitude of reasons, but being fat is the least of them. Right now, because they're fat, they can just use that as a shield almost, right? The same way that the food is a cover for something else, the fat becomes a cover for all of their multitudes of failings as people, right? For Chantal, it's that she's a racist, bigoted shut-in. And for Amber, it's that she is narcissistic, right? She's narcissistic and unwilling to take accountability for her actions. And she's not willing to accept that that's why people don't like her. Don't be silly, Jasmine. You belong to us. But yeah, I'm a bad YouTuber. I don't devote enough time to this. Sorry, you guys. I just don't have enough time. FBI is so disgusting that she makes ALR look sweet. Yes. Yeah, it's funny because like a lot of times I'll watch Chantal and she really does make me appreciate Amber more because I'm like, well, at least Amber is not using the R word. At least Amber is not, you know, degrading Jewish people. At least Amber is not saying, you know, Charlie Cole. That's something, right? Like, and I've given Amber, I think, credit in the past too, where she had, I think, Shani for Christ come into her live stream and give her like a bunch of money, and she was like, thank you for the super chat, but you're racist, right? And the fact that she was just willing to say it, she's like, thanks for the money, you're still garbage, I don't care, right? That's how I think that should be handled, and I really appreciated that. That took courage, and I appreciated her doing it. I really wish Chantal would take a cue from her. I don't think she will, but I wish she would. I know, right? I'm so active in chat right now because I'm not working today. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. I think a lot of people are here, right? And that's why I like to pick this time period too. A lot of my West Coast friends, I've noticed a lot of the jobs on the West Coast tend to be a little bit more flexible with their like work hours. Is also closer to lunchtime, so it's easier. And then on the East Coast, is like towards the end of the day, so you have a little bit more flexibility there. And that's why I kind of picked this time. I don't know. I'm always trying to change it out, you know. But yeah, I mean, most people don't have the time to sit on live with people for hours and hours and hours on it. And God, what would I even talk about for 6 hours, like every couple of days? I mean, I don't mean to, maybe I'm just a really boring person. I don't think I could put the entirety of my life into like one 6-hour live stream, all the interesting bits. And then what I talk about the next day when I have to do another 6-hour live, sorry. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Amber is every bit as vile as Chantal. Oh, I missed it. Sorry. Amber is every bit as vile as Chantal. She just hides it better. Her true personality is her Snapchat rants and live streams. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with you, Eldros, because on the one hand, I would say that a lot more of her personality comes out in those, right? Like the live streams and the Snapchat rants. She is pretty, she's really bitchy and she's very entitled and she thinks very highly of herself. Yeah, Amber's pure fakeness is nauseating. Absolutely, I agree with that. But I will also say I don't think Amber is racist. I don't think she's bigoted. I don't think that she has those feelings. And I think Chantal does. And I think Chantal's version of being bigoted and racist is like the Get Out version of being bigoted and racist. As someone who thinks that just because you say all the right things and you voted for Obama twice, all of a sudden means that you're no longer bigoted. All of a sudden means that you no longer need to have any of those conversations. All of a sudden it means that you can talk over people who you are hurting and upsetting and that it's fine. Because you're obviously, you're not one of those people. You're not one of those white people, right? Like that's how she sees herself. And there's nothing wrong with being a white person. There's nothing wrong with being any kind of person. There's nothing wrong with even coming from a family of people who have bigoted ideas. You can't control who you're related with. But if you're not willing to change, you're not willing to listen to people, you're not willing to grow and evolve as a person, at some point you're going to get left behind. We are all moral monsters at the end of the day. There's going to be stuff that my grandkids look back at and they're going to say, how could you have lived with that? And they would be right. There's things right now that I'm probably not doing or that I'm ignoring or that I'm taking part in that will be considered heinous, right? And that's always how it is. There's very few of us, there's very exceptional few of us who would have been like abolitionists, who would have, conducted the Underground Railroad, who would have put their lives in danger to make an actual hardcore difference. It doesn't mean that all the other people who lived in those time periods are bad, or all the other people who have relatives who were from that time period that they're bad people. That's not what it means at all. But if you're not willing to change, then if you're not willing to admit that you could have been wrong about something, then yeah, you support your ideas from before. No, Amber isn't racist. I would agree with that. I guess it's partly personal taste. I can barely stand Amber these days. She's incredibly frustrating. She is incredibly frustrating. She drives me absolutely bonkers. But like, I have never felt hate towards Amber. She irritates the shit out of me and I often dislike her, but I don't hate her. And I don't hate a lot of people. It's actually a very hard emotion for me to feel because I think hate requires a lot of energy and I don't have that, to be very honest. I just don't. But I think that I felt that way. I know I felt that way about Chantal. I know I felt some of the stuff that she says and does. I know that it makes me really, really, really feel that like, that like low burning in like your chest, like that anger. And I don't like feeling that way. Like I said, it's exhausting. And also it makes me like really dislike myself. That's a very deep emotion to have towards someone that I don't know all that well. Well, I do see a lot of Chantal, as it were. But yeah, like I've never hated Amber, but it's also definitely a thing about personal taste. All right, let me scroll back up a little bit because I missed some comments I think I wanted to read. I would have voted for Obama for a third term. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That's the kind of vibe that she gives me, right? Like she thinks that she's really liberal because she says all of the right things, right? She's a mouthpiece, but she doesn't seem to realize that you don't just have to say them, you have to actually believe them. That's kind of how that works. Midnight in Denmark, still here, not going anywhere. Consider you not going anywhere, so consider yourself warned. Denmark is lovely. I've never had the pleasure of going myself, but my dad did go there. Quite a few years ago, I want to say, and he has nothing but positive things to say. He particularly liked the food, which is saying something, because my dad's real picky about his food. I never really could watch Amber. I tried the reactions of Zachary Michael. Zachary Michael is great. He's so funny. Yeah, that's actually how I got into Amber, was through reaction channels, because Amber, I care about the overarching story points of her life. Her day-to-day is so incredibly mundane. She edits out any vestiges of personality, and legitimately she bores me to tears. I've literally sat here watching her and I'm just like, I could be buying things. I'm looking at my phone for effect, not just reading my phone. I'm just like sitting here watching her like, I could be buying things on Instagram, on like Amazon, stuff I don't need, rather than sitting here literally like burning brain cells, which is what it feels like. Chantal throws out microaggressions and racist remarks left and right. She should be throwing those food containers away instead. Oh God, I think about it sometimes, about just being in her apartment, and literally, like, if I think about it for too long, it will give me anxiety. Her place just is so cluttered and gross. It's so gross. I don't know if I've ever told you guys. I might have, because it's like a story. But my mom had taken me to go see some of her family in Chicago when I was like, I want to say it was like 13. And I spent the entire night rearranging and cleaning their entire fridge, because their fridge was very cluttered. And so I went through every single thing in their fridge, and I found everything that was expired, and I threw all of it away. And then I like took everything out, and I cleaned the entire fridge, and I didn't sleep the whole night. And then they woke up and they came downstairs in the morning and they opened the fridge and they're like, what? And I never told them, because what the hell am I supposed to say? That like your fridge gave me anxiety? Sorry, my light here keeps turning off. Your fridge gave me anxiety, so I had to like go clean it in the middle of the night. But like that, like I could not live in Chantal's apartment. Good God. Amber's continued treatment of Casey is what makes me side-eye her real heart. Yeah, her continuous misgendering of Casey is really upsetting. I really don't like the way that she does that. Casey's made it very clear how he wants to be addressed. And I think that it's really easy to respect that. Like it costs you nothing. That's all I think. As for the allegations, yeah, I've talked about that before. I'm not going to address them here again. I've already said what my piece on them, but there's a lot of people in my audience who have mentioned to me that, you know, they have also been the victims of this form of assault. And I don't want anyone to think that they won't be believed. And so I don't want to talk about it, you know, especially because in this case, literally the person who she's accusing has moved on with their lives. So I don't want to like address that anymore. And Chantal called CPS and a woman for making her angry on the internet. Yeah, Chantal's willing to stoop to just about any lows when she feels like she's justified, which is, I don't know, it's the tactic of a bully, I think. She strikes me as the kind of person who was ostracized by people in high school, and so she would take it out on the few people who would be nice to her. The thing about Chantal's place is she really doesn't have a lot of furniture. It's just that she drops things randomly all over the place. It'd take her an hour and a half to pick everything up. Well, this might be mean of me to say, Mudslicker, but it would take me an hour and a half to pick everything up. It would take Chantal 7 days to pick everything up. She needs a lot of breaks in the middle. She's not particularly mobile. And that's not like a dig at her mobility currently. Quite frankly, I think given how much weight she's lost, she could be doing so much better. She chooses not to. She chooses sadness, which I've said as well before. She really does. She genuinely chooses sadness a lot of times. Like, I don't know why she actively wants to live this unhappy, shut in, almost hermit-like excuse. But couldn't be me. Genuinely couldn't be me. I couldn't live like that. That's why I have like people in my life, and also why I get therapy. Ask your dad how are real Danish. taste. Yes, actually. So my dad talked a lot about the bakeries and stuff there, and he talked a lot. I think he said it was like 2 o'clock or something, where he's like, all of the bakeries go, all like the baked goods that haven't sold will go for like 50% off. And he said that he would just like on the weekends, he would just go and he'd buy some extras, and then him and his friends would like have like a mini party at the end of the night. He would just buy them right as soon as like the time passed. And he bought me back a coin and it had a hole in it. And I thought that was pretty cool. Also, once my gestures, just wiener bread. I like that. Amber is still misgendering Casey. She hasn't spoken on Casey in quite a while, so I don't know if she addresses Casey by name, if she would still misgender him, but every time that she's done it in the past, she's misgendered him. It would be so easy to only clean up after yourself. That's the thing I think that people don't understand, is that like it's so much harder to clean a house when it's filthy than it is just to pick up after yourself. It's just easier like that. Yeah, she's... Anyway, let's get back to Chantal so we can wrap up. Maybe I should probably go in like 10, 15 minutes. Bakery party. Yes, that's exactly it. That's what my dad would have. He's just living the high life, okay? Now, here's the thing. I don't know how this whole Dom saga will end. I am genuinely quite worried about it. I think that there is a high chance there's a high chance that Dom might break up with her because he's been doxxed. But I don't know. I just don't know if that's a good thing or not. I really want it to be a good thing, because I keep thinking to myself that if he breaks up with her, maybe she can find someone better. But the thing is about people who are vulnerable and the people who prey on people who are vulnerable like that is that they're very good at sussing out, they're very good at sussing out their victims. They're very good at finding people who they can take advantage of. And that's what I kind of feel like is going to end up happening here. Did you see her? Did you already talk about her live today? She's been off, but she seems more off today. No, I haven't actually seen her live today. I was like just doing stuff and in the morning, and I just did not get a chance. And her live started really early, especially for me, because I think she's on East Coast time. I feel she can find someone worse. That's exactly my worry, that she might actually find someone worse, because I know that it seems hard, but I think that if Chantal found someone who on camera was real sweet, but like behind the scenes was like abusing her, especially financially, I would believe that it could happen. Genuinely, I mean that. I feel like it could happen, because that's kind of how I think that she is a vulnerable enough person that someone could take advantage of that. Hey Shane, how you doing, dude? Yeah, no, you're not late. I don't delete any of my lives, mostly because I think if I've said something wrong in them, it doesn't do me any good to try and hide from it. So I tend to leave everything up, for better or for worse. For worse a lot of times, because I go off on tangents a lot. But and I worry that she might find someone who's significantly worse and who's better at hiding it than Dom is, and that I don't know then where we would be, right? Because if they're good enough at hiding that they're abusing her from even, say, us, like we never see any traces of it on camera, she might really be stuck in a bad situation. And genuinely, I worry about that, because the way that she's presenting herself on the internet, she would be so easy to take advantage of. I mean this, she would be so easy to take advantage of. Like, I am not very good at manipulating people, genuinely. It requires a level of insight into people's like soft spots, and I don't often see them in live. Like, I don't see them as they're happening. I see them often after the fact, right? Once I've gathered data on them, like mental data. I don't keep notes about people. Well, I do have a partner, but that's different. But you know, I think I could manipulate her. I think a lot of people could manipulate her. And I think that she's very easy to take advantage of. And I worry that if someone like that gets a hold of her, what could happen to her? Jasmine, your new name is Tangentlet. Or Tangential. I like Tangential. I do. I think I'm going to keep that. Yeah, I'm very easily distracted. I like because I'm reading the chats too. I'm trying to get more comfortable in live streams. That's why I started with having guests over, because if I can interact with them, then it's like a little bit easier on me, which is why I often feel like I think poor Shane got the short end of the stick. That was my first live ever, I think, and I was so bad. I was so bad, and I made him so uncomfortable, and I'm really sorry about that, my friend. I promise I've gotten better, and I'm much better in like a one-on-one setting. I'm not that great in live. He touched her fupa and called it jello. Oh God, why would you put that thought in my head? Also, is this the fupa with the abscess or without the abscess? Just so that everyone can suffer together. She's an extra vulnerable spot, and the whole thing makes me so uncomfy. Yes. Yeah. And honestly, the reason why I am worried about her finding someone worse is because she's already taking hard drugs. If someone sees that, you know, if someone says, you know, screw that guy, you know, if you want some drugs, I know I can get you some of those drugs. And I just worry that that she might become addicted to those. And those, I mean, like, for all that you can say the food is also killing her, and 100% is, it's gonna, this stuff will kill her a lot faster, especially given her complications, especially given all of her other complications. This will be bad. And I'm just so like, genuinely scared for her. And I know that sounds weird, that because like I'm a hater and I talk about her and I make a small amount of money from this. All of that is absolutely true. But I don't want her to die, right? Call it selfish. I don't want her to die so she can be here and give me content and I can talk about her forever. But genuinely, even if it wasn't that, I wouldn't want her to die. There's very few people in the world that I would just wish that on. And I think that I think that might be where this is headed, because I don't see her leaving this man, and I don't see her quitting this attention-seeking behavior that she's doing with like the opposite gender. And I worry about it leading somewhere very, very bad. I'm worried that we'll start seeing more bruises on her body after the doxing. Yeah. And you know, I don't think Chantal's ever going to be the kind of person who's going to admit that she got hurt. It's a very big part of being abused, very big part of being someone who's in that kind of situation, is like the shame that comes from it, that I let this happen, that it was my fault somehow. And to a certain degree, you know, I being abused is never your fault. It is the abuser's fault. 100% of the time it is the abuser's fault. But you also have to be careful when it comes to taking care of yourself. You also have to know, I shouldn't put myself in risky situations, right? Like, if you are wearing a $10,000 Rolex and you're walking through shady alleys in New York and someone robs you, yeah, that person is the bad guy here, 100%. But like, use some common sense and maybe don't wear that $10,000 Rolex, or don't walk down shady alleys. That's all. Hey, I think I missed some messages. Blondie. Hey, Blondie B. Sorry I missed you. Yes, I know. I miss Shane's videos too. I miss both Shane and Callie. And then Callie's been off the internet for a little bit too. And I honestly, what's more, I'm like way behind in catching up with everybody's videos because I've just not been feeling it. Hater really isn't the correct term for you. I don't care what you, like, I don't care what she calls me. I don't care what like anybody really thinks about like my position in terms of where I am in the community. I just don't, like, I can dislike someone and really not want like horrible things to happen to them, right? Like, I don't want to call myself an empath because God has Shane Dawson ruined that for everybody. But I am like the squishiest of beating hearts, and I get like I get very like I've cried literally on any movie I've ever seen in my entire life. I have cried. It's like a running joke with my friends at this point. I just I'm like that sometimes, and so I don't want anything to happen to her. For all that I don't like her as a person, I still don't want anything bad to happen to her. I genuinely, like, I'm worried about her. And I like, it's so frustrating because it's like one of those things where you see something bad happen in the news and you're like, how do I fix this? And I feel the same way about her. I'm like, I feel like I'm watching her slowly self-explode. And I'm like, the only thing I can do is like talk about it, because if I didn't talk to anyone about this, I would lose my absolute mind. I can't look away, but I also don't know how to fix the situation. It's terrible. Did you have to bring up Chantal's voice? Lots of voids are being filled with this dude. Yes, I get where you're coming from, Acro, but also, yes, now that you put that idea in my head, I can't unthink it. Oh, come on, not the cat emoji. I'm uncomfortable. What was that comment about her? I'm sorry if anybody here is eating or was planning on eating ever again, but if you guys see that butthole comment, I'm just horrified. I can never like unthink it. There's not enough brain bleach in the entirety of the world that will be able to let me unthink that. I am so upset about that. Hey, Shelby. Yes, Blondie, that is exactly the face that I also made. Um, I'm not going to repeat it here, mostly because I can't actually form the words in my own mouth. But if you check on Twitter, it's there. You might need therapy. You probably will need therapy, but yes, it's there. Yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth. I dislike her, and I'm upset about the whole situation. I don't know if this is going to be for the better. I don't know if it's going to be for the worse. Though knowing Chantal, it's probably going to be for the worst. In every situation that she can, she likes to make her life more difficult, not less difficult. So it worries me that she basically stated that he does not respect her boundaries when it comes to sex. Yes, he doesn't respect her boundaries when it comes to anything. He seems to push as far as he can. So there's a term that I read about recently, and I might be using it wrong, but I read about how there's like a locus of control. There's things that are within your control that you have the ability to impact and change. And he seems to work so hard on changing what Chantal's perception is of her locus of control, right? And like just recently, she said that, in the past, she'd said, he called me and he's like, get down here right away. And she was like, I'm not going to be like bossed around like that. And then this time he called her and he was like, hey, come over right away. And she's like, yes, master. Right. And she thought it was like a cute thing to say. But when you see that progression along with everything else, you begin to get worried. She sucks, but she doesn't deserve whatever this is. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Yes, you can dislike someone and still be like, maybe no. Karma Killers, thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate that. Even though very unmatched. It is what it is. This is very Ariana Grande, and this side is like Amy Winehouse. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Thank you for the super sticker Vienna made. I appreciate that. That and the revelation of the unable to clitorally orgasm. Oh God, why would you make me read that with my own two eyes? See, this is the thing. It's not that I'm a prude. It's just that I don't like knowing about anybody's private lives like that. Is that actually might be a prude? I might actually be a prude. That's okay. It's not a thing that interests me about most people. I'm like, I don't care what you're doing. I just, if you want to, whatever, just go do it. Just don't tell. I don't care. Don't involve me in this. Bodily functions are just not my jam as a whole. I think he called her during her live today. She got a phone call, declined it, then left soon after. Yeah, I don't know. See, like sometimes, and this happens, right? Like someone needs to get your attention. So like, partner knocks on the door, or if I'm filming, and I have like the backdrop like up, like it has to be higher. If you guys can see that the edge of the backdrop is literally right here. See, oop, no, should not have done that. But the backdrop, I have to like put it in a different way so that it like covers the whole thing. And I actually have a bar that I hang it on. Anyway, what I mean to say is that when partner needs to get my attention, he will like crawl underneath the backdrop and then he'll like grab my ankle like a serial killer from a slasher thing. And that's how he gets my attention. But it's always like, okay, it's not urgent. I'm letting you know that I need your attention right now. But then we can talk in a little bit, unless there's like an active fire happening or something like that, right? Like I don't mean like a little fire, but like a figurative fire. But the fact that like she doesn't seem to have anything else that she does, but like I do stuff, right? It could be like, hey, I need to get this tax stuff done. Give me this information. I don't know. I don't know anything about taxes, but like could be something like that. As opposed to with her, what are you two doing? You do drugs and you sleep together. So like, what could you need from him that urgently? Or what could he need from you that urgently? She's a grown woman who uses the word wiener. Yes. I too used the word wiener though earlier. It was in reference to a pastry, but there's that. Nearly 40 and using childlike language. Yes. Well, Chantal's got, she's got she's got developmental issues. I'm sorry, that came out sounding like I was saying that she was intellectually like slow, or that she had like a developmental disability. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that she's emotionally stunted. I misspoke. I apologize for that. She's emotionally stunted. She definitely does not act her age. She definitely acts like someone who is like still 17 and thinks that she has like her entire life ahead of her, not realizing that the way that she's abusing her body, her that entire life might actually be like 10 years, you know? I'm asexual, so I don't, yeah, the whole sexual thing that she giggles over. Yes, I'm kind of similar in that regard. Like, it's just not a thing that interests me. It's just, you know, it's a fun thing, but it's like, that's between me and partner. And I don't care about what anybody else is doing. Like, that's the only person who I'm interested in. I don't want to talk about anybody else's lives in that regard. Like, let's talk about something fun, like dragons. Dragons are fun. Just calling men boys at almost 40 boggles my mind. Yeah. I don't know. She gives me like Regina George's mom energy, you know, but like not like responsible parenting wise. I mean, just like trying real hard to be like young. Gives me a lot of that energy. And like, I will freely admit, I am old now. My sister, who is 10 years younger than me, often tells me that I am gross and that I don't know what I'm doing, and that she uses language that I don't understand. So I completely understand and relate to that. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't understand, you know? They say when you start actively using any addiction, you stop developing mentally. I mean, many would say that she's been an addict like her whole life, right? I think that she's been fat her whole life. But I think I do agree with you. Sorry. I'm just trying to say that I think that there was overindulgence when she was younger. And I think where it went from overindulgence to being food addiction is in her teens. And I can understand that, right? It would make perfect sense to me that she was my throat's dry, when she was self-conscious going into her teens, and then she got into high school where people are little for the way that she looked, and she used food as a coping mechanism. And with everything that was happening in her life, that was the only constant. That was the only thing for her. And that's when her emotional reliance on food occurred, right? She was already fat, and now she's emotionally reliant on food. And then the addiction was kind of born. And I do think that it sort of stunted her emotional growth. I think that she is permanently stuck at that age now. I think her mom is emotionally stunted too. And Chantal saw that growing up and just thought it was normal. I don't know. I don't know much about her upbringing. I don't know anything about, I think I've only seen her mom on camera like a couple times, so I'm not going to pass any judgment on that. And like, you know, what we hear from Chantal is very skewed, of course. She's going to view her mom in a certain light. She's going to view her sister in a certain light. So I don't like to draw conclusions about someone based on what Chantal says, because she's a very skewed perception of reality. Like, she's like one of the least reliable narrators. Oh my God. Ariana, hi, Tramonda. You bounce around with different substances, food, sex, and then substances. Yeah. And this is very much so like a classic case of addiction transfer, right? She started with food, and then when the food was taken away from her because of the Ozempic, which I think somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, the food was taken away from her because of the Ozempic. She's like, okay, I'll do edibles. And the edibles were not really doing it for her anymore. So then she transitioned into sex. And then from sex, she's like, well, hard drugs, right? And the root of all these problems is still the same. There's still something in Chantal that's leading her to overindulge in all of these aspects of her life, right? And I worry that if she started drinking, she'd drink heavily too. And all of these aspects of her life are because there is something emotionally wrong there. Nobody gets to 400 pounds because they just like food too much, right? There is something else happening, right? Like I've told you guys before, I'm fat, right? I'm fat. I was fat before. I'll be fat probably the rest of my life too. But there is a difference between gaining weight because you are stressed and you overate a little bit. And like I told you, I had some like hormonal stuff going on too. I gained weight. Definitely still my fault because I was still overeating, right? But I gained weight because of that. And I was still only ever like in the overweight / just, right? Like just over the obese category. I never got to like 250, 300, 400 pounds because I'm not like eating to compensate for an emotional problem the way that Chantal is. And that's the same thing with Amber. Amber's had a very hard life, and she tries to soothe herself with food, which is the one constant that she's had no matter what home she's been in, no matter who she's been with. Not realizing that at this point, she's turned that into toxic for her. Like, it's toxic now, right? It's like poison in her veins. And she doesn't understand that. And they're not willing to deal with the deeper underlying issues. And it sucks. Therapy sucks. I will say it for anyone who wants to hear it. Therapy is not fun. I don't enjoy my sessions with my therapist, but she's great. And I feel better. And I confront things. And you should too, if you can. I genuinely mean this. Okay. Her childish flexing about having a boyfriend is so uncomfortable, especially knowing what kind of person he is as a human. I hate seeing this play out on such a platform. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think, like, unless we get Chantal to like really delete her channel and really get off the internet, I don't really think anything is going to change. And to be frank with you, I don't think she's ever going to go voluntarily. So we would have to either mass unsubscribe and keep anyone else from becoming like a fan, or we would have to like get YouTube to finally take notice. And I don't know how to do the latter, and I don't think it's ever going to happen in terms of the former, right? Whatever else you want to say, it is definitely like, it's definitely still got a lot of train wreck appeal, and I don't think anyone's going to want to go. Okay, I demand that from this day forth, anyone going live have a cup of honey lemon tea and a tall glass of water with an arm juice. Yeah, I should have probably prepared something to drink, but my throat's getting really dry. It's not just that. It's still not feeling 100%. Like, I'm sniffling still, and I'm coughing and sneezing. Developmental delay vibes. Yep, I agree with that. They both need therapy. My boyfriend's sister is similar to Chantal in terms of being aggressive, combative, has an unhealthy relationship with food, and doesn't like being told what to do. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, therapy really does help. And both Shane and Judd are right? Like, it's not, therapy isn't easy, but it's like, have you ever gotten like a splinter? It sucks having to pull a splinter out because it's like uncomfortable and it hurts, but like when it comes down, it's like instant relief. Or like if you ever put a contact in your eye the wrong way, right? It's so hard trying to get it out because you have to touch your eye and it already hurts and it's tearing and it's crying and it's difficult. And the moment you pull the contact out, you're like, oh my God, it's so much better. And that's, I mean, I don't want to say that therapy always just by itself works, or that it's going to be 100% like effective for everyone, or that it's going to work right away. You don't have that instant sense of like relief, but over time, it really does help. I hate putting contacts on for exactly that reason. Yeah, genuinely, like, I'm so blind. If I wasn't this blind, I would never wear contacts. They're the worst. I want like LASIK surgery so badly. Yeah, my boyfriend's family never really told his sister no, and both her and Chantal are the same age. They hate everyone. It's mentally exhausting dealing with them. And that's the thing. I think Chantal says that most people who say they hate everyone actually don't hate everyone. What I've found in my experience is that most people who say they hate everyone actually hate themselves, and they think everyone else hates them too. And so it's a defense mechanism. You're like, I'll hate you before you can hate me. They're like, I don't like people. That's why I don't like interacting with them. And what they aren't saying to you is that I don't want to interact with people because if they don't like me, I don't know what to do with myself. I think Chantal was never told no because she was ignored. I agree with that. A lot of what she does is very attention-seeking behavior. You see that in her like rebellious attitude. You see that in her, you guys, I was so bad. You don't even know. Like that pretending to be, that wanting to be the cool girl. I said it before, I'll say it again. I'm never cool. I was never cool. I never will be cool. It's not who I am. I am not a cool person. I don't do cool things. I don't have any of those interests. I am far too much of a giant nerd to ever really be that cool, right? Like I'll never be like a Blake Lively, right? Like I'm never going to be cool, but that's okay. That's okay. And as you get older, it's supposed to get easier to just be like, it's fine to not be cool. Who cares? I'm so glad I started therapy. Like, yeah, it sucks knowing I wasn't a good, loving person, but now I know, but now I know how to navigate through certain situations. Yes. Yeah, I really agree. I really agree with that. And that's the thing, right? It was like, therapy was really helpful for me too, to confront the fact that I have a lot of like anger issues. It doesn't come across that much anymore because I really have worked on it quite hard, but I used to be a very reactionary person. I used to be very, very angry. And it really helped me with that. I think that you're cool, Jasmine. Thank you, Joda. My grandma also thinks so. Well, she used to think so before she passed away. But yes, there are a few people in the world who think I am cool, and that is good enough for me. Wanting people to ask her more questions, wanting people to want, yeah, that very much so. Like, I was such a bad girl, right? Like that idea that somehow doing hard drugs and partying makes you like super uber cool. And that was a mindset that I had when I was in like high school as well, right? I was like, I've never been invited to a party where everyone is drinking. And now I think about it, I was like, thank God I've never been invited to a party where everybody is drinking. Boring, like super drunk people are so annoying. Like I don't want to deal with that nonsense, right? Like you get older and you get over it. And I don't think she ever has. She's still stuck in that high school mentality because whatever it is that she wanted then she didn't get, she's hoping. She's like going through cycles. She's reliving it, hoping that she gets a better outcome the next time. I don't know. Her childhood is the type that creates a narcissist. Yeah. I don't know. I would say AmberLynn strikes me definitely more as being being a narcissist. I don't think necessarily that Chantal is a narcissist. She does have some narcissistic tendencies, but she is most definitely very, very highly insecure. She is very highly like combative, and she's just not a very nice person overall. I think the key to therapy is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yes, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and there's also the buy-in aspect of therapy. You have to believe that you want to make a change. You have to believe that you're doing something for yourself. You have to want to get better. You don't just get better by like showing up someplace. Like everything requires effort, right? Like to give you an example, when I started working out with a trainer, the one thing they told me is that it's not just doing the exercise, right? Like when you're trying to do core exercises, you have to like hold your muscles in a certain regard. You have to have like control over your muscles to a certain degree so that when you do the exercise, you get the best impact from it. Just doing crunches is like not really going to get you all the way there. If you really want to work your core, you have to prep it correctly. And I think that's kind of the thing with therapy too, is that you have to buy into therapy before you really, really get any of that payoff. She's selfish for sure. Oh, 100%. She's selfish and she's incredibly inconsiderate. I mean, she just bought herself a gaming chair, something that she promised Pete's. Like, that's ridiculous. She isn't a nice person, that's for sure. Some of the things she's done to people have shocked me. She's really not a nice person. I'm not the biggest fan of Chantal. I relate to her a lot, and I don't want anything happen to her, for anything to happen to her. But I don't think that if we were like just outside and I met her, I don't think that we would be friends. I think that she would be the kind of person who would take advantage of my insecurities to make herself feel better. And I don't really like that. And I also think that, have you ever had that friend who will like call you every time something is wrong in their life just so they can use you for free therapy without actually seeing a therapist, because that will cost them money, and then they also have to confront the fact that they have problems, but then like they don't let you talk, they're not invested in your life, they don't care what's happening with you. That's the kind of vibes that she gives me. I don't know how Amber can't see how she comes across as a narcissist, or she knows but lies. I think that Amber doesn't really talk to a therapist. I think Amber hears what she wants to hear. And that's true genuinely for most people, but Amber more so than most. She bought Pizza Chair. He's supposed to put them together. Oh, okay. I did not know that. Thank you for the correction, Diamond Girl. I think cool is in the eye of the beholder. I would define you as someone who is cool and has done some really cool things that I would love to do. Travel, your education and knowledge, etc. Thank you. Yes. I would also like to I think that your perception of what is cool changes as you get older too. Stuff that used to be really, really cool to you and you were like a teen is like not the stuff that like is cool to you now, right? Like now I think I see people who have like traveled extensively and I'm like, oh, that is so rad. Like I had a friend and they had a party at their house and I went there and it was like another friend of theirs, not someone I knew. They were talking about how they like hiked in Patagonia for like 16 days. Are you kidding? That shit's amazing. I wish I could do that. And that I think that it should change. Things that you appreciate should change as you get older, but only if you actually mature mentally. Being financially solvent is cool AF. I would agree with that. I think you don't have to be rich, but just like trying your best to be prepared for the future, future-proofing your life as much as possible, I think is great. usually at 37, you're past circles of meeting new large groups of people like in high school or college. She's creating a large circle of people who think she can springboard from via her chat subs. Yeah, and the thing is that as much as I think having online community is better than not having a community, actually seeing people is also very helpful. Like being in the presence of other human beings. Also, allowing dissent is really, really healthy. You can't grow if no one's ever allowed to challenge your beliefs. And that's the problem. She doesn't want friends. She wants lackeys. And if she doesn't have that, she thinks that they're not true friends anyway. She thinks she equates the two. She thinks that 100% love is what constitutes friendship. But I'm telling you that my friends give me so much shit all of the time you wouldn't even believe. And most of the time they're kidding, but sometimes they genuinely do so because I'm wrong. And it's helped me grow as a person. And I appreciate each and every single one of them for that. I think Amber is so stuck in her own world and her own paradigm. She can't fathom how she comes across to others. Lack of exposure to others has made her that way, unfortunately. Yes, I agree. And I also think that would be something that she could address in therapy if she's ever willing to actually go to therapy and not just take pills. There's nothing wrong with taking pills. I don't think pills are band-aids, but I don't think that pills are the solution for everything. You often need both to really make a go at it. The group of people in her chat are scary, how they co-sign such destructive negative behaviors. Yeah, I think I saw one where it was like, yeah, all these people who are shaming you, they've obviously never left their hometowns. I have had more hometowns than most people could comprehend. I'm not saying that to brag. I genuinely mean that I have lived all over the world and I've traveled very extensively. And I'm telling you that it's not about how well traveled you are. It's not about how many life experiences you've had. Being mad at someone for doing hard drugs is not the same as being mad at someone for having a one-night stand, for example, right? We're not shaming you for doing something. We are worried about you. And the fact that you seem to think all forms of criticism are automatically hate is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I genuinely wish that I could have a conversation with Chantal. Because I feel like if I could just explain myself well enough, if I could just phrase it correctly, maybe she would understand what I'm trying to say. If I could find the right words, maybe she would understand what I'm trying to say, you know, and maybe she would do better. Do you know how happy I would be to sit here and be like, she lost another 50 pounds? This girl is killing it, right? Because I still think there'd be a ton of things to talk about when it comes to Chantal, but do you know how much like more interesting it would be if I every once in a while had good news to give? And I wish that I could be happy about her weight loss because I know she has lost some weight, but I can't because I feel like it's coming at the expense of her actual health, which is the entire point of losing weight to begin with. You're not the biggest fan, but I think you are really respectful and give constructive criticism regarding Chantal, though, and that's more than most on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not like, it doesn't bring me anything to try and like tear someone else down, right? Like, it doesn't, like, taking her points out of context is not going to, I don't know, it's not going to do anything, right? Like, I like having the conversation here. There's a lot of times where I will say something and someone will be like, no, actually, I think that's true. And I'm like, oh shit, that's a good point. I want to have a conversation with people. And I don't think like misrepresenting what I think or being outraged about everything, or it's just not who I am anyway, which is not to say that I don't have like controversial opinions. It's just not who I am as a human person. There are other channels that I enjoy, some of whom are like that, some of whom are very, very calm, right? Like, I like a whole host of people. But like, I think Chantal's unwillingness to listen to what anybody else has to say has really pushed some people in the direction of being like haters, you know? Sorry, this is bleeding. I was picking at it because I don't know why I do that. She lost some weight at one point, but she hasn't been weighing in since then, and her clothes aren't fitting loosely. All the smaller sizes she bought are tight on her. Yeah, I don't know. The thing about the weight loss is that it's all inspired by the Ozempic, not because she actually tried to control her own food intake. And so much like with Amber, I worry that regain for her it's inevitable. Genuinely, I feel like it's inevitable. She hasn't changed anything else about her personality. And unless she transfers her addiction to something even more destructive, I think that the moment she can, she's going to start eating again. And I don't know. I keep seeing Tasha Daniels. Sorry, Tasha. But like, I keep like in my head, I'm like inversing that. And I'm like, it's Daniel Tosh, like from Tosh 2.0. That's just what my brain does because I'm dyslexic. You're a good person, Jasmine. Thank you. I appreciate that. I swear I'm not just saying, anytime I say anything, I'm like, I feel like people are going to think I'm just saying it for the ass pats. But like, legitimately, I don't know. I would love for ALR to be in the room with a bunch of 30-year-olds who are mature. It would be painful, but an interesting social experiment. Yes, I would love to see her interact with people outside of like Becky and Destiny and Data, because those are the friends that she really has. I want to see her in a room full of other 30-something-year-olds who are on YouTube and who are making a successful go at it. Like I want to see her with her peers, you know? She's too dense when it comes to criticism. Nothing gets through. Yeah, well, it's not that she's dense. She doesn't care. She don't want to listen to it. That's the thing. If you close your ears off to it, then, you know, she's already stopped taking Ozempic, right? I don't think she's officially stopped. I don't think that she has to take the shots every single day. I'm worried about her younger audience seeing this behavior. Yeah, my only saving grace in this is that I don't think that her audience skews quite that young, and I really do think that the algorithm would not recommend Chantal because there's nothing in her channel that would appeal to a younger audience. So that's like my one consolation there. But if it wasn't, I might be tempted to report her as well, which I don't bother doing unless she says something like really big. I think the only time I've ever really reported her live was that one that she was in the car and she was saying, you know, Charlie Gold, and she was like threatening Charlie Gold's family. I did report that, but other than that, I've never really reported a video because I don't know. I don't care enough. Oops. Oh, hairband is coming off. There we go. Can't deal with my hair right now. I'm sorry, you guys. I have hard water where I live, so my hair gets like really, really gross. This is literally, I haven't washed it in one day. I can't, like the bangs make it so much more difficult. I can't deal with it. She hasn't picked up the new prescription with the elevated dosage. She says a few days late for her injection currently, I believe. Oh, God. All right, well, I take that back. I'm an idiot, and I should never, ever, ever give her any kind of credit because obviously it's going to come back and bite me in the ass immediately. All right, it is now 4 o'clock here. I've been on live for 2 hours, and my throat's about to die, and I'm starting to develop a headache from all of it. I have a light here, and here, by the way. And I still look this yellow, and I've changed all the settings, and I don't know what I'm doing. Someone else here is more computer literate and is not a Luddite like me. Please do let me know what I can do to fix this issue so I don't look like an Oompa Loompa in every single one of my videos. Well, my live videos anyway. And for next week, we will be back to regularly scheduled programming. I should probably have another video out later this week. But yeah, there's a couple things I wanted to talk about, not Amber or Chantal related, but I will be touching on the Tess Holiday anorexia situation. So if you're interested in that, you know, come back for that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. You guys are awesome. If you guys want to hear my spiel, you guys know my social media is linked down below. Instagram, Twitter, Patreon. Come become a patron. I don't do anything on there, but you can give me money. So maybe I can buy something to fix the coloration issue, but you don't have to. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Clarice, Jax from Wales. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Blondie. Thank you, everyone who was here and made the chat awesome. Thank you to my lovely moderators, Aquaphobe, Wild Rose. If I missed anyone, and I probably have, I'm so sorry. I love all of you, and I will see you soon. Bye, guys. How do I end this? There we go.